So today we can expect really a slight threat of kind of those severe thunderstorms across parts of Oklahoma, even into Texas. But we're really going to have to look at the end of this forecast to see why this isn't actually today. It's not going to be during the daytime hours, but very likely we see that thunderstorm threat goes clear up into South Dakota, and we'll see it's all associated with a system that's kind of centered around the Oklahoma-Kansas border that is going to allow for a big system to form that will allow some cells to form even as far east as New York. So it's going to be a big cell that's taking out most of the country, and it's going to allow more production and convection during the day, especially when we look at these temperatures. So our temperatures today are very nice compared to what they have been the last few days. We have kind of some cooler temperatures, though, in parts of South Dakota, Nebraska, and even into Kansas, but we will see that is due to this kind of system moving through. But that allows the kind of a bring up in some of the heat from that Tennessee area up into the Ohio Valley and the Midwest. So it's going to be a very nice day across parts of the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, and even to the east. But it's going to be a little bit chillier in the Dakotas, Wyoming, and parts of Montana. But looking down at the south, we are seeing some very hot temperatures in the parts of Texas, and that's going to aid some thunderstorm development later in the day. So looking at the Thursday reflectivity, we see that this system is kind of breaking apart over parts of the Dakotas, but the southern part is kind of producing individual cells over parts of Texas, and that's where our threat is during the daytime hours, and that's centered around 8 p.m. is where we see the biggest production over central West Texas. And we do see some cells start to form by this kind of the eastern part of the system in New York, and that's going to allow some pop-up cells across parts of Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, and Ohio, even into Kentucky and West Virginia. And then we'll see a line of thunderstorms making its way through the parts of kind of that western Pennsylvania and then central New York. And really overall, this is all associated with different fields with that trough kind of allowing colder air to make its way into parts of the Midwest. So we're seeing the northern part of the main system moving southeast, while we see the bigger part of the system moving straight east. And the only problem with this kind of a scan is we see that there are 4 sections of pop-up cells over parts of Oklahoma and into Texas, but by the time you get into the nighttime hours, they disappear completely. And we see kind of the whole storm from a stretched out storm into like a smaller storm. And then we see the stronger parts of the storm start to form over the panhandle of Oklahoma. And that's where we kind of stop for the Thursday, because that's right around about midnight right there is where we see the die-off of some of those cells, but the re-strengthening and rebuilding of the cells back over parts of Oklahoma. But we're not stopping there. Looking at the Friday morning, so this is from 2 a.m. to 8 a.m., we see that those storms really fire up over the 3 hours between 11 p.m. and 2 a.m. We see that they are forming a massive system, and it looks like from a few models it's going to be a squall line, but overall, looking at it, it's just going to be a high precipitation environment. Not expecting much tornadic activity with it. There is still a potential for it, but it's looking like hail and damaging winds are our 2 highest threats. But we see a squall line that forms and starts to push its way into southern Oklahoma, into the north part of Texas, and then we really see it start to bow out into Texas, Louisiana, and the south. Meanwhile, we see that rain enters into the Midwest and Ohio valleys and brings some lighter rain there, but definitely constant. So that's why our severe threat and our slight is because of that system that is going to occur between the hours of 2 a.m. on Friday and really 8 a.m. And that's going to move all the way from central Oklahoma clear into parts of Louisiana and Mississippi over those few hours. So that about does it. We'll talk about what the system's going to be doing tomorrow, but overall, not expecting anything huge and severe, not an outbreak at all. Potential for a tornado very low, however, as of this morning. And our biggest threat is wind, and then we have a follow-up of hail with these squall lines. Thank you all so much. Remember to stay safe and join us tomorrow for tomorrow's forecast.